Remembrance, sadhana, and spiritual journey.
What do you mean by discipline?
Something you enforce from outside lah. Even though you may not be feeling to do it, but you enforce from outside.
What do you mean by outside?
Like something like a force. You force yourself to do certain thing. Like not even though you may not be feeling to do it, but you force yourself to do it.
What you feel to do? You feel to do nothing. You are only other than eating and shitting. What you feel to do? You are always
like for example, my being vegetarian like Swami, I was actually waiting for the day where I would no longer have desire to eat non-vegetarian food. But I feel that day won't come. So I feel that I can't wait for that day, and I must enforce the discipline to do it, not wait for the day where I will stop having desire to eat non-vegetarian food.
when you have to enforce something, that means that there is nothing you love more than your unconscious desires. That means a very sleepy type of consciousness. If you love something and you have other unconscious desire which has become your addiction, which is like you have become slave to your tongue, your sexual desire and all those things. And if you have little bit of intelligence, I'm not saying even consciousness, you will see what you are doing. The whole life you are just doing the same idiotic things. If you are all the time ready to fall in the mud of your unconscious desire, your instincts, then forget spirituality, forget being more conscious, just remain a slave to your instinct, just go on falling down and down. But if you love something more than your unconscious desire, then there is no need to enforce anything. You will see if you are doing the same unconscious things, those things will create more suffering for you. It may give you enjoyment for few moments, but then there is only suffering. So even this much you cannot see, that means you are in a great dark night. But when we have contradictory desire, then if we have little bit of intelligence, we will choose the one which help us being more conscious, being more happy, which leads us to a higher state. But if one has no intelligence, then one is always ready to fall down and then complain, then weep and cry. We want all the things. We want all our pleasure which ultimately turns into pain, and then we don't want to suffer also. If a person is so asleep that one cannot even give up these desires which are just momentary, and by eating all those things, what you have got? So your questions are all the time just coming because your life is unobserved, and unobserved life is no life at all. When there is some clarity, when there is some integration that I have decided, I have chosen this path, then I will not do things which will hinder my journey. But most of the people are just so clouded that their life is just greed. They want everything. They are just desires and desires and desires. There is no clarity. Their consciousness is totally clouded. So when there is an opportunity, then they become blind. They will do those things, then later on they will repent. If the discipline is not a conscious decision, then it cannot remain for long. I am going through some discipline to remove all those thorns which I was thinking they are rose flowers. But we are in such a third-rate state that just for eating some food we want to be in a alcoholic state. If you eat all these non-vegetarian food and drink and all, where it is leading you? They are even worse than drugs. Maybe when you take some drug, you are for a while freed from your body. That's why they take drug. They all know that it can be harmful to their body. But they are in search of some state where they are for some time freed from this bondage, this prison of body mind. But if you are eating something, some small fishes, and it is not in any way affecting your consciousness, and you cannot live without it, then you have to decide. I don't feel that a person who is in darkness and then he is doing everything to doing all those things which will, instead of removing the darkness, will keep you more in darkness. What is the need to do such things? If someone is just born to eat, then why you are desiring something higher? But we are so happy in our mud. Even when you are desiring to know yourself, it is all just out of greed. Otherwise, not needed that anyone should tell you all those things. You should yourself see. Why one is such a slave to food that there are so many choice? For what you have to eat non-vegetarian food? What for what? For what I am asking you? When there are so many things available, for what you have to eat it?
Because that day after work, I was going to the mall, and in the mall there is totally no vegetarian restaurants for me.
Don't eat there. Go somewhere else.
Yeah, I understand. Yes.
What you understand? These are not problems. You have to make arrangement for yourself. If you are vegetarian and you have no limited possibility, then you have to find out ways yourself. Keep something with you if you have, or go to some other place. Because in many of the places, if you don't find any scope for vegetarian people, that shows people have become so unconscious. We have just become slaves to our animal instinct. If you are just slaves to just food and all those things, food and sex, you are worse than animals, because animals cannot be blamed. They have no choice. You have choice. But we are just incurable. We can never learn anything. What everyone else is doing, we think that is the right thing. If you are following the crowd, you will be one of the crowd. You will be a sheep. If you want your life to have some grace, some beauty, you have to choose your own footpath. If you want to remain part of the crowd, then you will remain always unconscious. Then choose to be unconscious. Choose just to vegetate. For that you need not even to choose anything. If you don't do anything to change yourself, you will remain an unconscious person. And a person who is such a slave to food, if one has so much desire to eat animal product, then eat eggs. Eat those things which is least harmful to your consciousness, and also least harmful to animals. If you are giving pain and suffering to animals, it will come back to you. That's why, in spite of all our growth and development, all life is not becoming more peaceful, happy, silent, conscious. Now there is going to be lot of earthquakes in coming time. In India, it is predicted by, I was watching an astrologer, but he looked quite very sane person, and he said his prediction has been almost always right. He wants that his prediction should prove wrong, but he said, I am not telling all those things to make you afraid. Why you making your face like a stupid person? I am telling you so that you remain alert about it. So he said on 3 days, 14, 15 and 16, there will be earthquakes all over the world. And he said few places where it will be more it is, and there will be lot of buildings will fall, big buildings. So, and yesterday I received a warning signal from disaster management, something like from the government of India. So they sent it, and there was some siren kind of thing for. And it was said that we are just checking it, so because if something happens, then that can be. So when I received that, I felt that government knows that it is these things are going to happen, so they are already preparing for it. So after 14, if I am not found, then you have my pictures. When there is no sense of urgency, you are still stuck with food, you are still want to be in a cage. When life can disappear any moment. Once things are clear to you, that death is the only thing which is certain, then there will be no confusion. But you want to forget death. Idiots always want to avoid those things which are inevitable. If something is certain, one should always remember it. I was telling to Prince a story in the last Hindi video which you made. So I will tell you also because it is in Hindi. So there was some great master. He had one disciple, but the disciple was very egoistic, that he is a great sadhak, he is such a great tapasvi, and he had this very great ego of being holier than thou. I am such a great sadhak, my austerity is greater than anyone else. The master saw that he is not being transformed here. So he said to him that you go to King Janak. Janak was a great king, and he was also an enlightened man. When the master said to him, go to King Janak, the disciple thought what the master is saying. I will go to that man who just believes in indulgence, and he is a householder. I am a sannyasi and I have renounced everything for truth. What I will learn from that man? He has wives and children, so what he can teach me? But when master told him, then he thought, okay, let me see what happens there. So he went very reluctantly, he went like all idiotic disciples. So when he entered into his palace of Janak, he saw that there was people were sitting, many people were sitting, all his ministers, and there was going on dancing. Beautiful girls were dancing, and Janak was having his wine and seeing this dance. Seeing this whole scene, he thought that I was very right, that where my master has sent me, what I can learn from this man. He is a man of indulgence, what he can teach me. There is no renunciation in his life. There is what truth he can have. But he thought that my master has sent me, so let me spend some time here. Let me see why my master has sent me to him. So he met Janak, and Janak said that you take your seat, you also watch this dance. He said, I am not interested in these worldly things. I am not interested in flesh of woman. I've come here to talk with you about truth. Don't waste my time. He said, you have come from so far away, at least relax for a while. Then he said to Janak that you are indulging in these things. How can truth happen to you? There is no possibility. So Janak said, we will talk later. First you do an experiment. He called some servants and he said that put a bowl which is full of wine and put it on his head. And he said that now you have to, because there were so many beautiful girls everywhere, he said that you have to walk around this place where this dance is happening. But be alert, be aware that not a single drop of wine should spill out of it. So the man started doing it. It was very difficult, but somehow he managed. Then Janak said that, how was the dance? He said, I was not interested. I was not seeing the dance because if I was distracted, then the wine would have dropped from. So I was only focused on that. Then Janak said, it is already quite late. You take rest, eat food, and we will talk tomorrow. So he was given a very big bed, very luxurious bed, and very rich food was provided to him. He liked the food, and then he was provided with many beautiful girls. They were massaging his feet with oil, and then some of them were, because at that time there was no electric fan, so they were doing this, fanning him with the fan which was at that time available. So which you have to use your hand to fan it. So and he lay down on the bed and he was tired and he thought that what a cozy bed. But then he saw above that there was one sword was there hanging on above his bed with it was bound by a very thin what do you call it, not rope, thread. So he saw and he became really afraid now. So he became very alert that. So next day, King Janak asked, how was your sleep? How was the whole thing? How was the food and everything? He said, food was very good, but he said, how was your sleep? He said, I could not sleep even for 1 second because I was very afraid when I saw that the sword is hanging over my bed. How could I have slept? So I had to remain awake. So the Janak said, this is what I was going, this is the only lesson I I wanted to give to you. So I am living in this palace where there is so many things which looks to you is very pleasurable, and one can be lost in it. But I never forget death even for 1 second. So if you remember death, you cannot become unconscious. So even if I am watching all those dances, I am drinking, I am always alert, I am always awake. Once you remember death, you can never fall unconscious. What you are doing on the outside, it makes no difference. What is real is that once you are aware of that death can happen any moment, you will become conscious. Then you don't need even any sadhana. Because we are forgetful of death. So we have to do all kind of sadhanas, all kind of methods and techniques. Once you are awake about death, you are alert about death can happen any moment. And that will make you conscious. So why your face looks like you have eaten few grams of shit just now?
No, for me, I'm alright. I'm just listening to the story.
So any change will happen in your life now or not?
Yes, definitely.
How?
I just want to ask Swami, do you think that I have like deteriorated compared to last time?
What last time?
Compared to like when I was still at the condominium.
When I told you?
Yesterday, Bupanda was saying something like this.
Bupanda was praising you, not. He was not saying that you have deteriorated. He said that you are coming back to what you were before.
Oh.
Before you started doing all those stupid things. If you are not all the time alert, you can fall anytime.
Yes,
It's not that you have come to a state from where you cannot fall. That's why it is said, it is treading upon the edge of the razor.
I want to ask Swami, at the point where I cannot fall, does it mean it's enlightenment already? At the point where I don't fall anymore?
What is the need to know what it is called? You will know yourself.
Okay.
This is also greed. You want to know beforehand what. If you will not fall, you will know also that you cannot fall now. So, what will be the title for this?
Indulgence is a life wasted.
What you are listening? Constant remembrance of death will make you conscious.
Okay, Swami.